Are you ready for more Star Wars adventure? The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, a feature-length audio drama presented by the Dorky Diva Show, debuts January 22nd, 2021. It's available wherever you get your podcasts from and on the Dorky Diva Show's podcast feed. Enjoy the trailer next, and for more information, go to dorkydivapresents.com.
Shout! We've got your pigs.
Were any of the critters harmed?
What did you do now?
I didn't do anything. I just freaked out for no reason.
It was nice doing business with you again. Maybe next time we could deliver something less... temperamental.
Now, what you call temperamental, I call fun.
Hey, is there a place nearby where I can make some repairs?
3 clicks south of here, you'll find a small spaceport. They should have what you need, as long as it's nothing too big.
Dynamic class? My stars, you don't hear about many of those still being space-worthy.
It's been in my family for a while.
She's pretty great. Any chance you have a hover cart we can use to load up?
I'll check out the HoloNet to see if anything new has come up in the sector.
My name is Sereth Khan. I am the chief here on Kamai. My people and I have been experiencing food shortages as of late due to unforeseen natural occurrences. We are looking to hire someone.
I say we take this one. The pay is great, and it's the type of job we're familiar with.
Welcome. You must be Captain Otoa. I've already sent word to Pack 2 to expect you in the next cycle or so.
You told him we were coming before we even accepted the job. That's rather presumptuous, isn't it?
Perhaps, though once I received confirmation that you were interested and on your way here, I couldn't help but hope.
Fair enough. Well, we'll be back as soon as we can.
Well, that's not good.
Is that blaster fire I hear?
So you're the one.
Captain, it sounds like they want to do this the hard way.
I love when they got some fight in them.
This is bad. This is bad.
We're about to have a lot of company.
I'll see you soon.
Hi, this is Savannah.
And this is Brian from the Dorky Diva Show.
And you're listening to Star Wars,
The best place for below-average Star Wars.
Welcome to Star Wars, best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below-average Star Wars. I'm one of your hosts, the Geordie Jedi Pete, and I'm joined by the Canon Junkie XL, Ian. Ian, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Obviously, got a lot of Star Wars stuff coming this year. We've got 2 new TV series going to debut on Disney Plus. We've got countless other TV series sort of in production to come out the years following. We've got The High Republic in full swing now with its 2 debut books available in the US, 1 debut book available here in the UK, and also The High Republic comic running wild as well. And it's just been a sort of a cool start of the year. We know we've had the news about Lucasfilm Games. Just this week we've had a couple of other news topics drop as well, so it seems to be that the Star Wars newswire is buzzing a bit more than it has been towards the end of last year, which is good. Which is, it just gives us more things to talk about, which is exciting.
It's always good.
It is indeed. So obviously today, me and Ian will be diving into Chapter 15, The Believer, from Mandalorian Season 2. But before we do that, there's a few news topics we are going to cover. A couple of little stories dropped there. If you go to JediNews.com, is where I get my Star Wars news from. So you can read more in depth about these things we're going to talk about at JediNews.com. So go check that out. But yeah, first things up, obviously, we've had the Lucasfilm Games announcement. we discussed it briefly on our last episode, and then just after that happened was when all the news dropped. So yeah, Lucasfilm Games is now sort of the branding that they're going to put on the games. Instead of just a Lucasfilm logo coming up on the games, it'll say Lucasfilm Games. It looks like they aren't going to be developing games in-house at this stage. But what has happened is EA no longer has its exclusivity on the Star Wars license. So EA will be making Star Wars games, but other companies can now come in and pitch, and Lucasfilm Games can hire other companies to now make Star Wars games, not just EA. With that, they announced that Ubisoft would be making a Star Wars open world game, which is pretty exciting. How do you feel about that announcement, Ian?
It was really funny that we were talking about all this last time we were on, and then literally by the time I got to work, it had come out about this game. Obviously, that with the EA rights lapsing. So yeah, no, I've wanted an open world Star Wars game since forever ago. Like, it sounds, obviously we don't know anything about game yet. We don't know what it entails, where it's going to be set in the timeline. We don't know anything about it, but the fact that we're going to have a game, obviously Ubisoft are making it, so I can see it being a bit like Assassin's Creed, that type of game. That's what they make that with their open worlds. But I do know they're trying. I did read the article. They are going for something different with this game. It won't just be like an Assassin's Creed version of Star Wars. But no, hugely excited for it. It just, like I said the last time we were on, I haven't been a massive fan of how EA have handled the license. So just the fact, but I've loved the games they've done. I've loved Battlefront. I've loved Jedi Fallen Order. But just the fact that we get more studios that can pitch games just means we win in the end, because then we get more games, which is something that I feel like we haven't had since Disney bought the Star Wars.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where obviously, like the acquisition happens, Lucasfilm comes under the Disney umbrella. It's a case of what's most important. Well, your Star Wars movies are coming back. Let's focus fully on that. Then obviously the Skywalker saga is finished. The trilogy that Disney started to produce is finished. Now we can start branching off. The High Republic. It's no coincidence that this High Republic thing has come after the trilogy. And again, it's no surprise that this sort of gaming news has come after the trilogy, because they've now got, that big sort of elephant in the room. That was what story you're going to tell. This trilogy is now being happened. It was successful. Like billions of dollars made across the world. It's 2 theme parks open across the world. You open in a mega hotel to do with that as well. Now they can concentrate on other things. For me, I think the exclusivity ending and then them not renewing it is fantastic. I love Battlefront 2. Happy for EA to still make games, but this just means that more people get a chance to not only pitch games to Lucasfilm, but also like more voices get to work on these games as well. So we're going to get probably a more diverse type of content coming out, and different types of games, different types of stories. And that's going to mean that, like, for all of us, we'll have to find more time, because guess what? We're going to have to play a lot more games, which is always a good problem to have.
Definitely, mate. Like I said, I remember when LucasArts was in full swing, and we used to get like 5 games a year. So I don't think I'll ever get back to that point, like where we get 5 games a year. But just more, like I said, more games are always welcome. I'm a big gamer. I like and like I said, I love Jedi Fallen Order. I can't wait for the sequel for that. It's exciting that EA is still going to be around to make like a sequel to that. And but yeah, hugely excited for other studios to have a role in the future of Star Wars gaming.
Definitely, and it's funny because obviously we recorded our episode, and then I remember like that was it. I'm going to put this out maybe in 4 days' time, and then literally like 3 hours after recording, you at work, all this news was coming out about like, EA no longer does have exclusivity, and we're going to be making an open world game with Ubisoft. And I was like, right, that's what I've got in the bank is now all news, so I better publish that now, get that up, and then we can start again with the next episode. So always moving is the news. Just got to try and keep up with it. It's funny because I ran a question vote on Twitter.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to follow us on Twitter, go to @BorsStar. And I asked the question, what do you want the new Lucasfilm Games Ubisoft Star Wars game to take place in the timeline? So where do you want the new Lucasfilm Ubisoft Star Wars game to take place in the timeline? The 4 options I put up were between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. That was a bit of a joke. I put that in there because that seems to be where all the content is at the minute. Yeah. High Republic, Old Republic, and After Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So coming in last place, believe it or not, with 0%, was Old Republic.
Yeah, that's surprising, yeah.
Yeah, very surprising. So I was very surprised at that. And then joint second, with 20% each in the vote, was After Return of the Jedi and Between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
All right.
And then coming in like top with 60% of the vote was High Republic. So it seems that High Republic fever that started with like that new book Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, and the second book that's out in the USA, not out here in the UK yet, and obviously the comic book is that people want this High Republic and they're loving it and they want to dive further into it.
Yeah, I asked like a similar question. I didn't do a poll or anything, but I just asked a question like, where do you want the game to be set? Same as you. And the overwhelming majority on mine was High Republic as well, which is amazing because it's just come out. Obviously, I can definitely see TV shows and this coming out of this High Republic. Charles Soule's Light of the Jedi came out #1 in the New York Times bestseller list, which is amazing. And is it Justina Ireland's Test of Courage came out second on the, I think it was the young adults like New York Times bestseller list. So that is unbelievable. It puts a bit of doubt on people that said, "Oh, the High Republic launch was a failure," which is kind of funny, seeming that the first book hit #1 in the New York Times bestseller list. Which I don't know if a Star Wars book's ever done that before.
I mean, Star Wars books do well, but I think like what you're seeing people saying to failure, that's just the fandom mess, just telling lies. Same as like. No, yeah, I mean, those people are just like Donald Trump, you know what I mean? They just tweet lies, but because people tweet it, it gives momentum. But, you know, we've got to get better at not believing everything we read. You know, like I said, just talking facts. Yeah. Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule was #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Its debut week. Everyone's bought the book. And then on week 2, it only dropped to #4. So, like, people are still buying that book, even though, like, everyone's already got a copy, do you know what I mean? So, fantastic news about that. And I said, really, really, the circles I hang out in online are all loving it. So really, really, really good stuff there.
To get the game set in that time period would be really cool. That would be. I don't think it will do. I just don't for some reason, but I think it would be. I do think though, like I said, with the success of the launch of it, I do think it's a matter of time until we get like maybe an animated show or something. Obviously, the Acolyte that's going on to Disney Plus is set at the end of the High Republic era, so I do think it's only a matter of time before we get like an anime. Because I did hear rumblings a while back that there's possibly a High Republic animated show in the works. I don't know if that's true. That's just like online chatter. But with the success of Light of the Jedi and that, I think it's only a matter of time, and that would be really cool if this open world game was set in that time period. It'd be fresh, it'd be new. Like I said, that was the most refreshing part of Light of the Jedi. As much as I love Thrawn, Vader, and all them, once you read a book about them, you know how it ends. You know they're fine come the end, no matter how much danger they're in, depending on where it's set on the timeline. So yeah, to have an open world game set in that time period would be really cool.
Yeah, I think the only thing why it wouldn't happen is because they've been very meticulous with the planning of Project Luminous, of the High Republic. It's planned out in 3 phases. I feel like every step of the way is planned. So I think if they plan a game, then they'll do a game. But I can't see them just diving into do a game because it seems popular, because I feel they are really trying to sort of follow a certain path. You know, they've mapped out this entire the next probably 6 years of High Republic publishing is what it looks like, because the first phase is 2 years, and then there's a phase 2 and there's a phase 3. So if each one is 2 years each, which it might not be, but I'm just speculating. If the first phase is 2, then it's reasonable to expect each phase to be 2 years. Like, it's probably one of the things, like, if you think about the sequel trilogy and how maybe it didn't really follow it wasn't really mapped out from the beginning. Like, I think like with this, it looks like they've mapped the whole era out from the beginning. And then they've got these 3 different eras they're telling the story in, 3 different stages that they've already announced the 3 stages. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think maybe that would be the only thing that would stop them doing a game. But I mean, it sounds like the Acolyte, like, they've already planned that to tie into this. So, we aren't privy to what Lucasfilm have planned, and like maybe they have got a game tied in, which would be absolutely fantastic.
Definitely, mate. Yeah.
As for me, I don't really mind where it comes, just as long as like, if it's open world and it's a story, then it needs to make sense. And as long as it does that, I'm all on board. And give us a 40-hour plus game minimal, so I've got plenty of game time on it, would be fantastic.
Definitely, mate. Yeah.
And also rumblings that Battlefront 3 is going to be announced. I mean, I imagine that they are doing a Battlefront 3 because Battlefront, 2 was fantastic. If you look at all the content that brought that, it was like running for like at least 2 years of adding new content to it, which is, really, really good on their part. If it's all business, and if EA are saying, we're going to make Jedi Fallen Order 2 Lucasfilm, which you want to do, and we want to do Battlefront 3 because that's where they make all their money on the Battlefront games with the loot boxes and stuff. So yeah, I think like it's definitely going to come. Obviously, not so much me. I'm not a big fan of multiplayer, for example, although I do like playing on Battlefront. But like, like multiplayer games are what's popular in all the esports across the world, and how popular that is with the younger generation who love Call of Duty, love playing Fortnite, all online, all battling. So like Battlefront 3 is a no-brainer because it fits directly to that demographic. All those guys will buy it and all play it. All those girls will buy it, they'll play it. And then obviously like me and you as well, who are older generation, will pick it up anyway because we love Star Wars. So it's a no-brainer for them to do Battlefront 3. For me, I think they don't need to announce it like so soon. I think like just get making it. For me, I want it to be like, I don't want them just to reskin Battlefront 2 and then put it out. That's my main complaint with like FIFA games and Madden games, like, because it's just the next games. You could just, instead of paying like £60 for a new game, £60 for a new game, they could just do that in an update, because all they're doing is updating players' team names and strip colours on like games like FIFA and Madden. Where like I think Battlefront 3, you've got a chance, you could put a whole new campaign in there. The campaign in Battlefront 2 was fantastic. So you could put a brilliant campaign in Battlefront 3. You could put a few different campaigns. So I mean, because Battlefront games are essentially like arcade setups where you play across different maps, across different eras of Star Wars, you could do like 3 different campaigns. You could have a prequel campaign, a sequel campaign, an original trilogy campaign, and a High Republic campaign.
That'd be sweet, yeah.
You could totally do all that, and you wouldn't have to put them all out at once. You could put one campaign out first, and then be like, I guess the new campaign pack's coming soon. Stay tuned for the download. Do you know what I mean? There's lots you can do with Battlefront 3. So for me, yes, it'll definitely come. I don't need them to announce it so soon, and I really do hope they don't just reskin Battlefront 2. I want them to, like I said, you could literally put like 4 different campaign modes on there through different eras of Star Wars history, and every time you complete it, you can, like, say, unlock new characters from that era, which would be great, and new playable characters from those eras. So yeah, I think like it's a no-brainer. I'll definitely get Battlefront 3, but for me, I hope they don't just rush it to get it out. I hope they take the time. I hope when it comes out, it's already a brilliant game. Yeah. And then, like I said, as the years go on, they can add more and more content as well, which would be fantastic.
I think they learned from the launch of obviously Battlefront 2, which was not very well received. The launch of Battlefront 2, obviously, I think they kind of like rushed out a bit. But come the end, I was playing Battlefront on the weekend. It's a fantastic game, and I just hope, like you said, do you remember years ago? Do you remember the original? Because obviously, do you remember the original? There was going to be the original Star Wars Battlefront 3. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah.
Obviously, and you could fight on the ground and then take off and land and go up into space and fight up there and like stuff like that. The original Battlefront 3, obviously, it was cancelled. Looked amazing, and I would just like something like that, something new, something a bit more ambitious. And I just, yeah, like I said, I'd love the Battlefront. I love Battlefront 2. And I just hope we get, I hope we get Battlefront 3 announced. And then we can all look forward to that as well.
Definitely. It's going to be exciting times. Plenty of games coming out. It's going to be really good for her. Moving on to the next topic. So Jason Isaacs, who obviously voices the Grand Inquisitor in Star Wars Rebels. Again, so he's done this in the past as well, but he's expressed further interest in playing a live-action version of Grand Inquisitor. For me, I think Jason Isaacs is absolutely fantastic. Anybody who watched Star Trek Discovery can see just how good he is as Captain Lorca in that series, as well as these other numerous roles that he's been a part of. For me, I think if there's a story where we're in that time period and there's a reason why we need to see the Grand Inquisitor, then 100% bring him back to play that role. Because again, I think he's a great actor. Again, watch Star Trek Discovery if you want to see his intensity that he can bring to roles, and the physicality he can bring. And then obviously his voice, he is the Grand Inquisitor. So for me, it's a double matchup. Definitely get him back. For me, obviously, we've got Cassian Andor in production. We've got Obi-Wan Kenobi in pre-production, about to start production. Both stories take place between Revenge of the Sith and The New Hope. So for me, there's no reason why the Grand Inquisitor couldn't pop up in those series.
Yeah, definitely. I think the one that we possibly could see him in is in Kenobi. I think that makes sense. If he obviously, we don't know who. Obviously, we know Darth Vader is going to be in the show. But if other Inquisitors are sent to hunt Obi-Wan, maybe it's the Grand Inquisitor who sends them. And I think that would be the perfect place for him to come in. It makes sense. It's in the right timeline. I think Kenobi's 8 years before A New Hope, I think.
Yeah, I think for me, Inquisitor-wise, I think obviously you can always change it to make sense, but I think Inquisitor's going after Kenobi on Tatooine doesn't make sense because if they went there and Kenobi killed them, the Empire would know that they didn't check back in and send more people. And obviously we know that no one's aware of where Kenobi is. But obviously we're getting Darth Vader in the series. Obviously Darth Vader, will give instructions to Grand Inquisitor. So it could be a case of we're on Vader's Star Destroyer or on Vader's castle on Mustafar, and he's giving instructions to Grand Inquisitor before we then see him do whatever he's going to do in our TV show. And then Grand Inquisitor goes and does whatever he's doing, and it's in the background. Yeah. It's not part of our story here. And then that can be another story told somewhere else. If that makes sense. So, I think for me, if they're going to bring the character in, I hope it makes sense. Same with everything in Star Wars and the storytelling. Hope it fits, hope it makes sense. And then if they are going to do that and bring him in, then 100% for me, Jason Isaacs, bring him in to play the Grand Inquisitor. Because like I said, he is the voice of him. And like I said, if you watch some of Jason Isaacs' roles in the past, he brings a brilliant intensity in physicality to his roles, which is what a Sith Inquisitor would need, in my opinion.
Yeah, and the character looks just like him as well.
Definitely, mate, definitely.
And all that type of thing.
100%. So going from there to another casting thing. So Alan Tudyk has come out just yesterday and sort of said that he's not going to be in the Cassian Andor series. Sort of referencing that it's filming now, and he's not part of that production. Which I find kind of strange because I'm pretty sure when they announced at D23 that Alan Tudyk, who plays K2SO, was there as part of it with Cassian himself.
I saw the video last night. He said Kathleen Kennedy and brought him out onto the stage, and it was Diego Luna and Alan Tudyk. So I'm sure they put out a press thing saying he was going to be in the show. So whether it means he's not in it at the current moment, possibly.
Yeah. So my thoughts with this, I'm thinking obviously when they did that, the D23 and announced the show, at the time the show probably was in its very early stages of development.
Yeah.
So obviously you bring them two out on stage, you get the good feel going, but then obviously as the show starts to be developed, it's are we telling that story of K2SO yet? And if not, then he's not going to be in the show. Do you know what I mean? For me, I don't need K2SO in the show to begin with. I think you could totally tell the story of Adventures with Cassian first, And then you could even tell the story of how of Cassian like coming across this Imperial security droid, fighting him, and then reprogramming him to become the K2SO we know in Rogue One. And then the next season you can have the Cassian and K2SO sort of adventure story.
Yeah, obviously they did a one-shot comic for Rogue One, telling the story of how they met and how they obviously how he reprogrammed him. And to be honest, if they want to retcon that and just tell a different story, it's fine, because that comic wasn't overly great. So yeah, I just think they could do that later in the show. Just tell a different story about how they met and how they reprogrammed him. But like I said, I saw the video, so I'd like to believe he's got to be in it at some point. Whether it's a season 2 thing, I don't know.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. Obviously, if I've not read that comic, but if they have already told the story in that comic, then it's probably not going to be on their the number one list of things to do in this series. You know what I mean? They can sort of reference it later. Sort of like, you know, like with the new Spider-Man in the MCU and the first Spider-Man movie in the MCU, and it like wasn't that Spider-Man origin story because everyone already knows the basic Peter Parker origin story. And we've seen him rock up in Captain America, and he knows Tony Stark, and we know that, and that's going to be our jumping off point for this story. Where they could do the same here, you know, like people who read that comic know the story of how Cassian creates and becomes friends with K2SO. Therefore, we don't need to reference that again. But in season 2, we might just briefly sort of mention it and then bring K2SO in, like that type of thing, rather than sort of banging you over the head with stuff. Be interesting to see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if it's all a lie and Alan Tudyk actually is in this. Not saying Alan Tudyk would lie or is a liar. I think Alan Tudyk's a great guy and I think he's very funny. But if someone asks you if you're in a Star Wars production, you're contractually obliged to say no.
Yeah.
Or say, I can't answer that, sorry. So, so it'll be interesting to see like whether this is all just smoke and mirrors to keep the production secret. It was funny, like the Sun newspaper, which I'm not a big fan of after the way they treat sort of football and football fans during the Hillsborough disaster. But they ran an article with like, town is angry because Obi-Wan Kenobi production is like in their town, but and it was like, well, actually no, because that's not filming yet. Like, you have got pictures of the Cassian Andor set, which there's some people even know about because I don't know who Cassian Andor is. But yeah, so like they ran a story.
Oh, was
like,
was they saying it was Obi-Wan, but it was Cassian?
Yeah, like a full story saying Obi-Wan in production at this town, and it's just like, you tell them you don't know what you're talking about. Like you've seen a Star Wars thing is in production in this town, and you assume it's Obi-Wan because that's the only thing you've heard about. Because they're not in the bubble.
Obi-Wan was filming in the volume anyway.
I'm not sure. For me, I wouldn't mind them doing it here. I think like you don't want if you film for me like Book of Boba Fett, yes, volume. All your shows that are tied into Mandalorian, film in the volume, so they'll got the same feel.
Yeah.
But I think if you're telling stories in the same time period type thing, which Cassian and Obi-Wan will be, why not? I mean, I'm sure there'll be some pickup shots to do in the volume, but like overall production wise, you know, come and build a set in the UK because that'll have that feel.
Tatooine stuff they'll probably use the volume because just especially with the COVID, they'll probably just use the volume for Tatooine. And if Obi-Wan is going to leave Tatooine, then I'm guessing they might film on location or something like that.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure I'm not sure if it's finished yet, but they're building the volume in London. So they could always do like build that there, produce it there, and then, like I said, they can go off to sound stages to film all that stuff on set.
I take it they're building it at Pinewood. Yeah.
I think it's in partnership with Pinewood on their lot or next to the lot and becoming part of the lot, I believe. And then the last bit of news for everyone who loves the Dark Troopers that we saw in the previous episode of Mandalorian. The Hot Toys Dark Trooper 6-scale figure is up for pre-order. I don't buy Hot Toys because they're just too expensive. These things do look fantastic though, and I think the Dark Trooper is very toyetic, so it lends itself to being a great figure, a great action figure. And when it comes out in Hasbro Black Series, I will be buying it because for £20, I'll buy it. But I think it'll make a fantastic Hot Toy. So anyone who collects Hot Toys obviously watch out for that Dark Trooper coming because, like I said, they're very tight. They look fantastic, and if you collect the hot toys, it'll look great in your D12.
Definitely, yeah. I'm the same with you. I like the look of the hot toys. I can't justify it. I'm getting married in a year and a half, so I can't afford to be dropping £300 on a figure. To be
Definitely. So that brings an end to the news. And we're now going to dive into our review of The Mandalorian. So we've only got 2 episodes after review. We're going to review one now, and then that just leaves us with the season finale, a deep dive into another day. So finally we are getting caught up. So we are going to review Chapter 15, The Believer, which is the 7th episode of the 2nd season of The Mandalorian. This episode was written and directed by Rick Famuyiwa. And this is only the 2nd episode this season to be written by someone who's not Jon Favreau.
Yeah, this has got some of my favourite actual. Obviously, I've had more favourite episodes with action and that, but this has got some of my favourite personal moments, acting moments in the whole show. I think this episode was great, and one of the characters that obviously we'll get into it really surprised me on how well they acted in a certain scene. But we'll get to that once we get through the review of the show.
Definitely. So just to dive through the plot of this episode, prisoner Miggs Mayfield, who is obviously played by Bill Burr, who appeared in season 1. In last episode, we sort of saw the Mando inquire about him when he went to see Cara Dune. He is working on the Carthon chop fields, which is essentially sort of I imagine it's like a labour camp for prisoners, dismantling old relics of the war, the Imperial Civil War. And he's remanded into custody of Marshal Cara Dune. The Mandalorian needs Mayfield, a former Imperial soldier, in order to acquire the coordinates to Moff Gideon's ship. Obviously, the child got stolen in the last episode, and now we're on the hunt to find out where the child's been held and rescue him. Mayfield directs them to a hidden Imperial Rhydonium refinery on Morak. Obviously, everybody in Mandalorian's crew is known to Imperial security. So the Mandalorian must accompany Mayfield into the refinery to access the terminal and steal the coordinates. Mayfield and the Mandalorian hijack one of the transports and disguise themselves as soldiers. Sort of disguise these Imperial truck drivers, which is quite cool. The highly explosive Rhydonium shipments are attacked by pirates. Sort of the Mandalorian's almost overwhelmed. He takes out one speeder of them, or one skiff of them, and then another one comes, so he's got to start fighting them again. And just before they sort of get defeated, 2 TIE fighters swoop in and they reach the facility, and they're actually the only shipment to arrive that day. The terminal Mayfield needs is in the officers' mess hall, but Mayfield sees his former commanding officer, Valen Hess, and you see him be quite scared straight away, sort of fears being recognised. After a bit back and forth, Mandalorian goes instead into the terminal. It requires a facial scan, so it forces him to remove his helmet and break the way of the Mandalorian. But we'll dive into that a bit here as well. But he does it to acquire the codes. He's confronted by Hess, but Mayfield intervenes after a tense drink, where Hess callously sort of dismisses the Imperial soldiers and civilians who died in Operation Cinder, which again we'll dive into that. Great to see that mentioned. And Angar Mayfield just shoots Hess dead. Mayfield and the Mandalorian fight their way to the roof, while Fennec Shand and Cara Dune provide covering fire with sniper rifles. Boba Fett arrives above Slave One. Mayfield destroys the refinery with a well-placed sniper shot. The ship is pursued by 2 TIE fighters, but Fett obliterates them using the seismic charge, which is fantastic. Lovely Attack the Clones callback. And then at the end, Dune lets Mayfield go free as thanks for helping them out and also thanks for destroying the refinery. On the very end, the Mandalorian sends Moff Gideon a threatening message vowing to rescue Grogu. And it's also a message that's very similar to the way Moff Gideon spoke to them in season 1. So sort of a lot to go through. I think for me, I thought when I saw that Miggs Mayfield was coming back, I was a little bit sort of I wasn't down about it, but I was like, all right, okay, like not really bothered because I wasn't a big fan of his character in season 1. I thought he was a prick in season 1. But in this episode here, I thought we get like a lot more character development from Miggs Mayfield, and I thought the character development of Miggs was fantastic. Sort of really understanding why he is what he is. You know, he was an Imperial soldier during the Civil War. He sort of fought in Operation Cinder, which for those who don't know, it's in the Shattered Empire comic book, and it's in the Battlefront 2 campaign mode where after the Emperor dies, he's dying order sort of to go and destroy certain worlds, Imperial worlds, and just like destroy them just for the hell of it, because I don't want the world to be happy if I'm not here. And it's also to disguise the fact that some of the Imperial are not going to shoot off into unknown space to hide and build the First Order. So he was part of that, and then obviously saw the Empire sort of turn on its own people and let them die. And you can tell that's really hurt him quite a bit psychologically. So I love this deep dive into his brain, and like, you know, after that happens, of course he's going to go and become a mercenary, and also, you know, the regime he fought for, the regime that he sort of lived his life by and lived for, the Empire, turned its back on him. So that's why I'm not surprised that he sort of doesn't trust anyone in season 1, because everything that he believed in turned against him in his past, which we didn't know then, but we do learn here. I thought his character development was brilliant. I really enjoyed Bill Burr in this episode.
He shocked me like how well acted he did it. Like obviously, I'm a former serviceman and that, and you can see when he's talking to that Valen Hess about Operation Cinder, you can see he's got a bit of PTSD and that type of thing. And just like I've never suffered with PTSD, but I've got friends who have, and obviously that was a really cool way of showing like that type of thing. And because you will have PTSD, he said thousands of his friends died and all that type of thing, and you see the conflict on his face and that he obviously ends up shooting Valen Hess, who you can just tell is just all in, brainwashed, 100% Imperial, that type of thing. And
for me, Valen Hess has like a slimy, evil face. Like he looks like it's what you'd put on a nasty officer in an Indiana Jones movie, doing that type of guy playing him. It's like a greasy, evil guy. And obviously, you know, he doesn't even recognise Miggs Mayfield, which I think again just goes to, you know, we were nothing to you. We were just pawns in a game that he didn't mind setting fire to. For me, I love that mention Operation Cinder ties it into so much wider Star Wars canon, which was great. Again, I loved how Miggs here sort of didn't have to go in and save Mando. When Mando gets questioned by Hess, you know, he then comes in because he knows Imperial protocol, knows what to say to him, knows the guy a little bit, and sort of makes the save and gets him in a situation where instead of being questioned, they're now having a drink with the Imperial officers. Which, you know, he was outside the room at the time, he could have just run off, which I think in season 1 he would have done. But here in season 2, he's hung out with Mando quite a bit. Also want to dive into the beginning when Mando's like, I'll come with you. I'll just change my suit and wear the armor. And he asks a good question, Mayfield. He's like, so what is it? Is it that you can't take your Mandalorian helmet off, or that's just you can't show your face because they're two different things? And it goes to show that it's diving into the fact that this belief Mando has is part of this cult, and it's not really something that's feasible in the real world. And then also that when it comes to something you love, then it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? He loves the child. He wants Grogu back. So you know what it is? I'm going to change the rules in my head to be that I just have to wear any other helmet now. And sort of Mayfield does a great job of sort of questioning that in the transport they're in the Rhydonium transport. Sort of you get a good bit of sort of conversation there between them, and it's sort of, you know, a bit of it's Mayfield playing with Mando and questioning him a bit, but it also makes Mando think. I think in a good way, where Mando's you know what it is, you sort of got a point here because I've changed the rules in my head that it's now not just a Mando helmet, it's any helmet, and I've done it because I want to save this child I love called Grogu. And that's just human nature. If you want to for your loved ones and the people you really care about, like you will do anything for them. So like you will in your head change the rules and justify actions. So he changes the rules there, justifies them, and then obviously when he goes in, he's got to show his face and on the Imperial scanner. He takes the helmet off, and again he does that because he justifies his actions because he's trying to save the child Grogu, who he loves dearly and cares about.
He also has the line Bill Burr's character when he says about they drive through a little town in the on Morag, and he says, "Oh, to these people, it doesn't matter if you're Empire or New Republic. The only thing they see is invaders on their land," which is another great line. But yeah, Bill Burr, blew me away with this episode. The funniest line I think of the season though is where they're talking about going into the base, and then they go to, obviously everyone's got a reason why they can't go into this base besides Mando. Fennec Shan's known by the ISB, obviously Cara Dune's the New Republic Marshal, and then he turns to Boba Fett and he's like, what about you? And he goes, let's just say they might recognise my face, which is funny.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah, a little, but it's really cool because those fans watching the show who might not have seen the prequels or the Clone Wars, like, might not even know that. But then because of that line, might be asking the question, and then going back and like experiencing that side of Star Wars, which is fantastic.
Like, all right, because he's a template for a whole clone army. It's odd. It's a fun joke, but it's not on the nose.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. The line was delivered excellently as well. Like, it was really, really good. I loved how like this team, it was like the A-team, heroes for hire type of feel. It was like, you had like Boba Fett, you had Fennec Shand, you had the Mandalorian, you had Cara Dune sort of teaming up. Obviously, they brought Mayfield in, like this team, and we're going to go in here and achieve our goals. It had that type of really fun espionage, heroes for hire, A-team feel to it. Which I loved, thought was really cool, which we get more of in the next episode as well. Again, Mando sort of making these relationships throughout season 1 and season 2, and now these relationships that he's made because he's a good guy deep down, and these guys are coming to help him, which is like fantastic. It goes to show that, like the message of like being nice to others and they'll be nice to you. He's been nice to these guys, and now they're back sort of repaying the favour, all helping each other out to sort of rescue the child Grogu.
Definitely, mate. Yeah, all these obviously with all the shows that are announcing that all these tie-ins to stuff. Obviously, all these people are going to meet again in whatever the Mandalorian builds to. But yeah, it's cool to see him make all these acquaintances across the galaxy that are later on going to pay off. Obviously, with this climactic event that the Mandalorian's building to.
Yep. My question for you is, why do you think this Imperial remnant are still refining Rhydonian?
It's probably to commit more atrocities. Even that Valen Hess says, with the Rhydonian, we're going to have enough to make Burning Con, which is obviously the place where Mayfeld was for Operation Cinder, look like child's play. I can't remember the exact word he says, but it looks like child's play and that. So I think they were just planning to commit more atrocities across the galaxy.
Yep. I think like goes to show that like the galaxy's huge. So although the Empire's been defeated, like I said, there is these pockets of like remnants that haven't been checked yet, and the New Republic's on its way to try to check them all. But obviously it takes time because the galaxy is so huge. Definitely, and obviously on this planet, as we see, like the actual locals don't seem to have a lot of technology. So it's quite sort of, this planet might not show up if they don't know about the Rhydonian facility.
It's crazy that they mentioned Burning Con, because Burning Con is name dropped in the Shattered Empire comic, which came out 5 years ago. So obviously they do their homework on this stuff.
Definitely, like I said, I think I really do feel that like the story group are utilised in this show quite well. And why not? You're dealing with a character who's got an Imperial past where he's been sort of burned by the Empire. If you take that information to the story group, they always go, Operation Cinder fits perfectly.
We've got them.
In the time frame you're talking about. Boom, job done. Yeah. this one might fit what he's describing. Oh, yes, it does. Fantastic. So good to show why the story group is so important. I love the whole team aspect of I loved how Mando Mayfield went in. They were the inside team, and then you had the sniper team, Fennec and Cara on the outside, keeping watch with the sniper rifles, which was fantastic. And then you had obviously Fett, who was the airborne division of the team. So it worked, like I said, like a perfect unit, which is fantastic. And again, seeing Slave One in action was just absolutely brilliant. That was before it fired the seismic charge.
Sorry, mate. The doorbell's just gone.
No worries. So, as you know, we're a dog-friendly podcast. So we do have I just think Slave One, it looks fantastic the way it's flying. Fett in the cockpit, absolutely brilliant. And I just think that and then when he's flying up and the Chai's chasing him, the seismic charge is coming, but you don't know, but in your head, in your heart, you think it's going to happen. Then when it happens, that was absolutely fantastic. Perfect bit of visual effects, sound effect to proper take you right back to that sort of prequel era, which was beautiful.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely, mate. Anytime I see Slave One in action is a happy day for me. And the seismic charges, though, was just the icing on the cake. I've been waiting for that. I've been waiting to hear that sound again since 2002.
Definitely, and the way it just perfectly drops and then just cuts the two ties in half as it shatters them.
And I knew
just the timing's beautiful. Definitely. I'm trying to think. Is this the episode where we get to see sort of the insides of Slave One, the rotating, the rotating belly? Yeah, because we've always seen the cockpit of Slave One. We haven't really seen anything other than the cockpit. Obviously, we know Slave One takes off one way and then sort of rotates to a vertical. How does that work? Obviously, we know the cockpit seats are sort of on the back. So when you get in the cockpit seat, you sort of get in on your back. But how does that work for the rest of the ship? The rest of the ship is, you go in, you can sit in the cargo area or the living area. And as the ship takes off and verticals up, sort of all of it's inside of a cage type system. And it rotates with the ship, which was, again, something so simple but so beautiful and answers a question we've been waiting for 40 years, really. Do you know what I mean? It was 41 years ago we first saw Slave One. And then here we are, we're getting new little tidbits in this show here, which is, again, is awesome.
Definitely. Anytime I can see Slave One is a happy day for me. I love that ship.
For me, I think anybody who's interested in Mayfield's past and Operation Cinder, definitely go play Battlefront 2 campaign mode. I think Battlefront 2 is.
It is.
I think it's free on PC right now.
You can get it.
Oh, so today is the last day you can get it for free on PC.
Yeah.
But you can probably get it on console for £10, and it's definitely worth it for the campaign mode. It's not a long campaign, which was my one fault with it, but the campaign is wonderful. So anyone who wants to know about Operation Cinder, definitely go and buy that game and play it, because you'll find out. And obviously you can probably pick up Star Wars Shattered Empire, which is one of the tie-in comics for The Force Awakens. You can probably pick that up and trade paperback for between £10 and £15, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
I've got it. It's a great book. So anybody, it's not a huge part of the book, but it's mentioned in there. But anybody, again, like Mandalorian, next episode Luke Skywalker, you get Luke Skywalker in this book as well. So I think goes to show if you're reading the Shattered Empire comic, it really pays off in this episode and the finale.
Also, if anyone wants to know the full story of the Operation Cinder, read the Aftermath trilogy, because that breaks down the full reasoning why Palpatine does what he does. And we find out, obviously, the Operation Cinder culminates at the... obviously, it's still going on. There's still people trying to plan after the Battle of Jakku, but we find out what's really going on at the Battle of Jakku. And it's not just a space battle. There's something there. There's something more than meets the eye with the Battle of Jakku and what's going on there. And what, if Palpatine had his way, would have been... what would have happened at the Battle of Jakku. So, anyone who wants to know the full way, read Aftermath.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into that. Let's go into detail on that one. Obviously, the games, it's only a couple hour gameplay. The comic will take an hour to read, but those books will take a while. So, obviously, the Emperor has a
observatory.
What's the word? observatory on Jakku. So
Yeah,
just dive into that for us
an
if you don't mind.
observatory on Jakku that maps the unknown regions, which obviously is very helpful later on when the people who escape the galaxy to go into the unknown regions become the First Order. So basically, he has an observatory at the Battle of Jakku, and he has a protege named Gallius Rax in the book, who is in charge of the Emperor's contingency plan. He's the one who brings the whole Imperial remnant at the time to Jakku, obviously, which leads the New Republic to engage them over Jakku. And he has this whole plan of using dark side energy by boring into the planet to make the planet unstable, to cause the planet to explode, therefore killing the whole Imperial remnant and therefore killing the whole New Republic fleet. Which obviously it goes into a lot more detail in the book, that type of thing. But obviously that is why the final battle of the Galactic Civil War is over Jakku, and it's only a few people stop him from succeeding in his goal to obviously wipe the board clean. And that's the whole point of Operation Cinder. Is basically the Emperor said, if I fall, the Empire doesn't deserve to go on without me because they didn't protect their Emperor. That's basically it in a nutshell, without getting into like deep dive.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, that was perfect, Ian. Thank you very much for sharing that. Obviously, got a little bit of insight for everyone there. Yeah, so like going like over the episode, sort of what were your favourite parts and overall
all the Bill Burr
feelings
stuff,
on the episode?
His acting was tremendous. I'd like to say that's the one thing that didn't surprise. I didn't, obviously, no disrespect to him, I didn't realise he could act that well. All the stuff about Operation Cinder, like I said, this episode was a lot better for me, like for the personal developments. Obviously, the way he questions Mando, like you said, is can you not just take off your Mandalorian helmet, or can you just wear any helmet, not show your face? It was a great thing. I love the bit at the end where they're like, "Oh, it's a shame he died. It's a shame that inmate, I can't remember what number he is, inmate so and so, died in the explosion at the refinery," and he's like, "Oh, so can I go?" And then like ignore him, so he just walks off. So he's still out there, but yeah, the build to me this was totally shone. Obviously, I like Pedro's development in this episode, but for me, the major talking points of this episode was stuff that Bill Burr's character did. Makes me feel. So yeah, my favourite thing was anything to do with Bill Burr. And then, that cheeky moment with Boba Fett where he says, "Oh, they might recognise my face." And yeah, sorry, mate. And
definitely, I think
going back to the aftermath trilogy, obviously, I talked about the observatories on Jakku. You see one of the Emperor's observatories in the Battlefront 2 campaign, so that ties in nicely as well.
Yeah, I think for me, I love the time Operation Cinder. I loved. There's been some people complaining about Susie Bill Burr's accent, about it being like Boston-like. I know he's from Boston, but for me in the episode, I didn't really notice. Like I was fully ingrained in his performance. So congratulations, Bill Burr on that. I think like for me, I think they portrayed him the way they did in season 1 on purpose, so that then when they bring him in here, it really hits you hard with the sympathy feels for him. So again, like perfect storytelling where we've seen it throughout the season where you bring Ming-Na Wen in to play Fennec Shand and she gets like 10 minutes in one episode and you're like, what a waste, but it's like actually no, because in season 2 you're going to see her a lot more. Again here, bring Bill Burr in for this character in season 1 and we make out be a prick who no one likes, and then he's gone, but then you bring him back in here and he really hits you in the feels and you end up loving him, which again would have been planned when they did season 1. This was all planned, so again, it's sort of just fantastic storytelling.
If you, like you said, when I first heard that Bill Burr was coming back, I'm like, okay. But now that I know he's alive, I want him in Rangers of the New Republic. I want him in something else.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Because he's sort of, Cara Dune gets him registered as dead with the New Republic. And again, that's a bit character development for her because she's not a fan. She doesn't want to get him out. And she's sort of like, you do what you're told. And we'll give you a better seat from the prison cell, essentially. We'll give you like a better prison sentence. But obviously, like he does really well. See, it helps the team big time and then obviously he does take that shot and destroy the whole Rhydonian planet as well, which he doesn't have to do. And a great development for her to be like, oh, you know what? You're not just an Imperial, you're a person as well. And guess what? We're going to let you go. I'm going to put my job on the line to fiddle records to say you're dead, so that you can live your life. And I think like down the line, hopefully, like Mando season 3, it's cool because if Mando gets in a pickle again, he needs more backup. He can go and find his mate, and his mate will come and help him again. He'll get the team together. Again, like I said, it's that sort of A-team heroes for hire type thing. He's got these connections across the galaxy now, where Mando he's friends with this guy, he's friends with Fennec Shand, he's friends with Boba, he's friends with Cara Dune, he's friends with Ahsoka Tano, he's friends with the Mandalorians, the Night Owls, obviously Bo-Katan and her team. So he's making these friends as he goes on. Mando's friends with I forgot his name now, the Marshal. Cobb Vanth's another one who could rock up and help him at some point. So, like, you know what I mean? It goes to show that, like, down the line, we could get, like, a full team up with, like, all these guys coming together to take on an enemy. Maybe in season 3. So it's just fantastic. I loved the Operation Cinder. I loved the overall storytelling. I love the fact Slave One was flying beautifully, and the fact he used the seismic charge again, just tying into that prequel era stuff, which is great. I love the message at the end, because it was a bit like, Moff, like, you think you're big and hard, we know where you are, because we managed to send you this message, we're coming for you. And you know that message you give us when you were giving it all the big ones? Well, here it is right back, we don't forget. And you can see a bit of concern on his face maybe the first time. You can see he's a bit shook up. Which is good. I think like overall, like, I love this episode. I feel like the last few episodes of this series have like really like it's really moved really quickly, which is like a credit to the team. Like it's telling like this sort of, each episode's rich in detail, but they're also like so entertaining that they just move by so fast.
Which is what I'm always in favour of.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I think, like, for me, I love the idea of the town, I'm not sure if the pirates, I think they're the townsfolk or not. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But I love the fact that like, these pirates are like sort of, they'd actually managed to stop almost all of the Imperial transports out there. And they would have stopped the last one as well, hadn't been for Mando. Which, if that Mando being an all Imperial, he wouldn't have been doing what Mando was doing. So none would have got there. Yeah. And I think it goes to show you that like the Empire is diminished. Like it's not a full strength. Even on this base, it's probably nowhere near its full strength. And like I said, like these pirates can cause lots of damage. Like I said, if Mando hadn't been put in the situation he was in, like in the normal Imperial crew, were running that transport, that would have been all that day's Rhydonium not got to the refinery. Which is good news for the rest of the galaxy.
It's hilarious because it'd be funny to hear a Geordie in Star Wars. See what people thought.
Yeah, well, why not? I mean, you could totally do it. I mean, if you look at like they've got a Scottish accent in Force Awakens with them.
I was like, oh yeah, he's like Han Solo. I was like, bloody hell, sounds like I'm in Glasgow. Yeah, so you could totally like. There's that many planets, you could totally have that, but obviously it's just about when and where. I doubt you get a main character doing it. Remember about a Scottish accent? Yeah, it was fun.
You can definitely get a background character.
In Force Awakens.
Yeah,
Balatik
of the Guav of the Guavian Death Gang. So
somewhere. I think I'm on the Black Series somewhere. Yeah,
mine's on his shelf. So yeah, like one thing as well I loved is that I love the whole design of this episode. I love the design of the prison of the Carthon chop fields at the beginning where Migs Mayfield is serving a sentence. Thought that was fantastic. I think like Phil Tippett, who did a lot of like stop motion on the Battle of Hoth for Empire Strikes Back, his team did a lot of like the scrap walkers in the background. So they used like stop motion for the scrap walkers in the background, and I think they were like filmed stop motion wise, and then they were like put on the LED wall of the volume and stuff. So like a lot of so it looks like it was like the director of photography, Matthew Jensen, explained that like the chop fields were a mix of LED video wall from the volume and built set, but the eye cannot usually distinguish what is real and what is not. So like they made a point of like, you know, they had this team that developed the scrapwalkers in stop motion animation for the background, and that was like mixed in with the LED wall of the volume, and then also like some of those TIE fighters that are in the middle of the set were actual models that were being chopped down, and it's all blended together to make the absolutely beautiful story we see on screen. So it goes to show you, like the volume is revolutionary, but like it's still being worked in with stop motion animation and with real sets, and combine it all together to blur all the lines to sort of make a beautiful story, which is absolutely fantastic. Have you got any closing thoughts on the episode and where we're going for the next one?
Excited to talk the finale with you next time. Obviously, we won't get into that here, but no, nothing really to add to what we've already said, mate. Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, obviously, I thought this episode was perfect setup for the next one. Obviously, we now got the location. It ends with Mando sending a warning to Moff Gideon. So yeah, this episode ends with like a really upbeat feeling. Sorry. So you're like, come on, let's go and get Moff Gideon. Let's take him down. Let's kill some stormtroopers. And let's take back Grogu, which is what you want going into the season finale. So it was the perfect penultimate episode to a season of television. Definitely. I thought
I might have to watch this episode again actually this weekend. yeah.
Do it. Watch that and just like throw into episode 16, the rescue as well. Why not? Hey, but no, yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. So that brings an end to our Mandalorian review for chapter 15, The Believer. Just quick on that title, The Believer. Obviously, like I feel The Believer based on two people. It's based on Migs Mayfield, who believed in the Empire and then had that belief destroyed when they turned his back on him. And also it's about the Mandalorian, where he believes he can't take his Mandalorian helmet off, but then when the cards are down, and he needs to save Grogu. Guess what? I believe more in my love for Grogu than I do with this cult, and him questioning that, which will lead into the next episode where something happens in that one. And then obviously going forward, I think we'll see the Mando not obeying by the cult rules and more of the normal Mandalorian rules. I think going forward in season 3 maybe.
As well, because he's 100% believer in the Empire. So yeah.
Well, he is. Yeah. He's that like SS Nazi Gestapo type character where like good soldiers follow orders.
Yeah.
But like nasty men like 100% believe in what they're doing and love hurting people and creating the pain. And he's one of them. He's like an SS
there's a lot of that
sort of Gestapo Nazi.
The people who really believed Hitler's rhetoric and bullshit and all that, and then there's the people who are saying, "Well, I was just following orders." So,
yeah, like if you're frontline soldier, you're in the army and you're told to go there and fight, but then you've got like people in those higher positions, particularly the SS and the Gestapo, who they're nasty people, and this is what this Imperial captain, I believe, was like. For me, that's what I got. The vibes I got from him straight away. From Valdes.
Films as a Nazi. That type of slimy, weaselly, definitely cowardly type of character.
Definitely,
because only cowards do that type of thing. Yeah. But
indeed, mate, indeed. So before we go, I just want to let the listeners know that we're going to be taking part in Star Wars Podcast Day 2021, which is February 7th. So we will have an episode that will be released on February 7th. That will be for Star Wars Podcast Day. Stay tuned to our social media to see what that episode's going to be. We're also running a competition across all social media at the minute, across our Facebook, across our Instagram, and across our Twitter account, where you can win some awesome Star Wars pin badges and some Star Wars podcast stickers. And that's all to do with Star Wars Podcast Day. So go and check out our social media and enter those competitions. See if you can win yourself a lovely R2D2 and C3PO pin badge and some cool Star Wars podcast stickers. That brings an end to our lovely episode
I am on Twitter
this week.
And
Ian,
Instagram
where can the people find you on social media?
All lowercase.
awesome stuff. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Pete Hitman Hart, named after Bret the Hitman Hart, my favourite wrestler. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you very much, Ian, for joining us.
Please follow us on Twitter at BorsStar. That's at BORESSTAR. And on Instagram and Facebook at Star Wars Podcast. You can also reach us on email at starwarspodcast@gmail.com. The Star Wars Show can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and wherever podcasts can be found. Please give us a like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a 5-star review. May the Force be with you.